sit down. We're almost to school. It's time now for the school report. Today we welcome Mike Beighley to the studio, the superintendent of the Whitehall School District, brought to you by Poppy Bus Service. The school report starts right now.
That's right, everybody. It is Friday, and school is upon us, the school season, and I'm joined by Mike Beighley this morning, and you've had a busy couple weeks, haven't you, Mike?
It has been extremely busy, but most importantly, you led with the fact that we have kids back in the building, and that's always a really good thing.
Bring some life back into those hallways.
Remind us why we do this work and what we make these investments for. And anytime you get a building full of kids, it's a great thing. It really is.
Yeah. So you had your orientation days this week, kind of?
We did. Okay. We had our open house on Wednesday, both in the regular building, the Meet Your Teacher, that whole stuff, or that whole set of events. And then we had an open house at the Emerging Technology Lab. We had some folks come in for that, another opportunity to kind of share what we're doing and, more importantly, why. We had our orientations for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade on Wednesday night as well, 9th grade as well. So I think we're off to a good start. We officially start Tuesday, like just about everybody else, and folks seem to be happy. We're fully staffed, which in today's world, that's its own challenge. So, yes. And we're really happy with the folks that we have. So we continue to have a really good team. Yeah,
and you said the Tuesdays are the start, so watch for the buses out there on Tuesday morning. Kids are going to be out. Buses are going to be getting used to their routes and stuff, so take some extra time to get to work.
It is, and it's one of those things. People ask us why we run these transition days, and I think what folks have to remember is that lets us start day one then. With day one.
Yeah.
We work through all of the little mini transportation issues. We work through all the little bugs, the kinks. We get the kids used to coming in, especially the littlest ones. So I think, that's all fine and good. But, yeah, we go fully loaded into Tuesday. So.
Yeah. And, there's something really exciting I want to get into talking about. You just took a trip to China.
I did.
So let's jump right into that. You got back, you said Sunday?
Sunday night about 10 o'clock. Talk about a life-altering experience, right? Had an opportunity to tag along with Todd Wanick and some folks from Ashley, some other business folks, to really go see what that area is doing in terms of emerging technologies, artificial intelligence, what we need to really do from an eye-opening perspective on the global economic challenges that we face, and a whirlwind opportunity. I'm still haven't recovered yet, I don't think, physically from that whole scenario. I think we visited 27 locations.
Wow.
In 7 days, but more importantly, the conversations that went along with it. But yeah, we saw some things that folks need to be aware of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you visited a bunch of technology places. Did you visit any schools too? Or?
We weren't able to get into schools. I think some attempts were made. Not sure if we weren't able to or if it just didn't work out. They're also dealing with a mosquito-based virus over there, so I think we adjusted a few things to avoid some of that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But I think we have a pretty good handle on the education side, especially around here. Mm-hmm. We have exposure. You mentioned the trip. I had the opportunity to go. But I also think we have to just find folks we trust. It was having some of the conversations we had. I'm like, well, I have a pretty good idea what we're going to see based on the conversations we've had from folks who are there more regularly. So I think we have to blend those things too, but certainly it was an eye-opening experience. It did prove to me that we are on the right path on many, many things that we're doing here locally. We just need to really be aware and start dealing with things on a state and national level.
Yeah, and it is, between different countries, we get that global, competition.
Well, you have different perspectives, and I think the big thing we have to start really understanding is the economy of scale. Mm-hmm. Okay, we have about 350 million people, for lack of a round off, about 350 million people in this country. You're talking 1.4 billion in China, another 1.4 billion in India, two of our most competitive global markets. And for a long time here, we've been able to live in isolation. Mm-hmm. And I know it's no secret, but I don't think folks understand the full magnitude of what globalization really looks like and what we're competing against.
Yeah, because competing on a global market, it's hard to compete with countries that size.
Well, just the magnitude. So I think there's this idea that we need to catch up. We don't. We need to leapfrog.
Yeah.
We need to figure out how to do this better with an American spin, and then really double down on our ethics, our morals, our values as we leverage the technology. And I think, obviously it's no secret. We talk all the time about the structural change work we're trying to do through our liftoffs group and the ETL and the things like that. But I think we have to understand the depth of the challenge that we face.
Yeah.
Again, that magnitude alone, the organization, the messaging, what do we message in this country? I understand it's a different political scenario, right? It's a communist country versus a free country. I understand all of that. But that doesn't change the reality that that's who we're competing against.
Yep.
Right? So
Yeah,
I think we have to figure out what that looks like. How do we embrace this? We spend a ton of time in this country talking about, should we be banning technology? Should we be banning cell phones? How about we teach the ethical, moral, and responsible use of them?
Yeah.
Right? And understand that we're not talking about the device, we're talking about social media.
Yep.
Part of that is controlled by the emerging technologies, the ability to look at that ad traffic and monetize the ad traffic. That's the stuff we need to really start understanding and teach our kids. Mm-hmm. This isn't a discussion of should we be teaching cursive writing, or should we continue our focus on the culture of great literature works, right? Of course, it would be nice to be able to do that, but I'm not sure that in the time we have with kids that that's the best use of it.
Yeah.
We need some debate around that.
Yeah.
Not emotional, past-based debate. We need some real honest conversations.
Exactly, because those phones and stuff, they are a tool for these kids. If you use them right, you can build businesses right out of the palm of your hand. There's so much you can learn, but we get stuck in that loop of Reels and TikTok where, it's just that mind-numbing stuff. So I think that's where we need to find that balance and maybe teach some of these kids some of these skills and some of these programs that they can use.
And we need to supervise the use of it. I think that's the other piece of this is we have this potential or this tendency to, well-intended, and I mean that wholeheartedly. It's well-intended. Everybody's trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But I think we have to truly open our eyes to the reality that we live in a global environment. We live in a global economic community, right? I mean, it's an economy that is now global.
Yeah.
Period. Regardless of all the tariff regardless of all the tariff conversations and all those different things, we have to understand what we're dealing with. I think, there's this concept. We talk to kids all the time. Well, I don't need to know that stuff. I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. The reality is most repetitive jobs are gone within the next 5 to 8 years.
Yeah.
They're going to be gone. That doesn't mean whether I want it to happen or not, where I sit on that personally, I don't have that luxury. That's the reality.
Yeah.
They're going to be gone. How do we leverage and how do we prepare kids for that? So I think that becomes the continuing, ongoing, challenging scenarios.
Yeah, and you said you got to leverage that, and that those jobs will be gone 5 to 8 years, automated by AI. So I know a lot of people have that fear of like, well, AI is going to take over, and there's all these things they say. There's different models of AI and how it works, but it's like if you're not learning it right now, you're already falling behind. I mean, we're already behind. So
we talk a lot about that redefined skill set, right? And we still leave a lot of our educational decision making to our kids and our parents, right? But I think we have to open up a real broad and direct and fast conversation about what a new future-ready skill set truly looks like.
Yeah.
We can't leave technology to those who are interested. We can't make decisions based on the past. We have to really provide a high-tech education for every kid.
Yeah.
And we have to create that new baseline set of skills to allow them to thrive. There's the cliche, right? We're either following or we're leading.
Yep.
I think everybody in this area knows certainly we're leading in terms of developing that stuff. But I think, if nothing else, the trip to China gave me real-world factual knowledge that we can use to keep explaining the why.
Yeah.
So
it's good to go get out of our comfort zones of the small town, get over there and see what other countries are doing and how they're doing it. And like you said earlier, it's a little scary, but it's also it gets a fire growing under you.
It does, and I think watching businesses have to run this challenge or deal with this challenge of how are they going to continue to migrate And who's going to do that? But I think that leapfrog piece is something we have to understand, is we are behind. The problem is I know ignorance is bliss, right? It would be nice to be able to kind of pull our head under the blankets and say, well, somebody will deal with this for me, or this will go away, or, not one of ours and not in this area. But I had a conversation with a young teacher this summer, someone that's working with kids, thinking AI is just a fad that's going to go away. It is altering every aspect of our life.
It is.
Right? And that's just one of the emerging technologies. I mean, we saw humanoid robots. We saw robotic dogs, which I thought when I went over there, I thought was just kind of a little gimmick, right?
Yep.
They've deployed thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of these things in military use, fire suppression use, police use. Wow. Anywhere that you don't want to send a living being, you can send a robotic dog. You can equip them with everything from radar and LiDAR to sensor technology to fire extinguishers,
yep.
right? It just takes a dramatically different thing. And we were laughing on one of the airplanes. The Jetsons have really come to life. In many respects. You're talking about drones. You're talking about the ability to move through the air now. Mm-hmm. I remember the cartoons of George Jetson walking out and
yep.
flying through the air, right? We're not that far from that.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff isn't here yet, not quite, but it's here. Coming. It's being developed, and it's being developed with an intent in these other countries that we do have to mirror. We have to mirror that intent, and then we have to figure out how do we provide our freedom version of that, but with some intent, some direct communication, some awareness. If folks choose to still bury their heads, if we make them aware, then they have to accept the consequences.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And it's not up to us to force people to do that. But if we haven't done our due diligence to explain to them why and share what we know, then it's our fault.
Yeah.
So I think we're actively becoming even more aggressive, if that's believable, in terms of kind of being in your face with this stuff.
Yep.
Because and it's not a choice we have. Our board has done a tremendous job navigating this. This isn't a choice. Technology is not a choice.
Yeah.
Changing what we do for our kids is not a choice. It isn't always popular. It creates some scenarios, right, that folks want to question. But a lot of the things that we've done in the past that have had great value and it mean a lot to a lot of folks are things we're going to have to not do.
Yeah.
Because we have to make room to do the things that are going to matter for our littlest of kids.
Yep, exactly. Well, and like you said, the technology has changed some. I mean, just think about 2020 to 2025 now. The leaps we had, even in AI, in popular culture with these videos it makes and songs it can make, all kinds of uses for it. How that changes month by month, things are getting better and better, and
literally day to day.
Yeah.
And once this stuff is able to start developing its own skill set and teach itself to learn, if we don't do that correctly and morally and ethically, then we have a real problem. But if we allow this stuff to manipulate, we saw humanoid robots they were about 6 feet tall. They weighed about 220 pounds. Used correctly, they could be powerful.
Yep.
Used incorrectly, they could be powerful.
Yeah.
Right? The ability to change their own batteries. We saw
really
a humanoid robot that can change its own battery.
That's a little creepy.
Well, I mean,
but yeah,
and at the same time, from an efficiency perspective, it would be
perfect.
Has some scenarios.
Yeah.
And I think there was another interesting challenge. Vast majority of these companies, we saw very, very young leadership teams.
Okay.
I didn't see a lot of folks 35 and older. Okay. And that in and of itself was questioning, for lack of a better way to say it. What do we do in our country, right? Old people like me, you get valued over time, and we've earned it, right? I think we've all have. But I think we have to find a way to embrace that. We tend to kind of put off our young people and say, you don't know enough yet to really enter this conversation. But we need to embrace their perspectives, and we need to empower them, and we need to take the lead from them on some of this stuff. These kids are able to do things we're not.
Yep, and loosening some of the reins on those kids so they can take that lead. Because I know from everywhere, from business to local government, everywhere, it's a majority of elderly people. I shouldn't say elderly, but older people, because I'm getting old too. But like county board. I'm like one of the youngest guys on there, and we need more of those young minds, this new pathway forward, and just to make them feel, I think, wanted and needed more too. I mean, because we all grow together.
Right.
Well,
and I think it becomes this perception that it's a choice, right? By choosing to embrace young people, somehow our folks who are more experienced are devalued. I would argue it's just the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have those conversations and ask a lot of questions, but also accept the answers.
Yeah.
Especially if they're factual. We have to, so much of what we seem to do is emotional reaction, right? We need to get past that because it's killing us.
Yes.
And I don't, that's not an overstatement. It is killing us.
Yep.
As a country. We have to start waking up and understanding we have to have civil discourse. We have to have debate. But we have to be willing to hear the answers.
Yep. You're exactly right. That having that civil conversation has gone away a lot, where, like you said, it's people are waiting for that emotional reaction instead of listening. And a little more time of listening, spending time, even with people you don't agree with, is a good way to expand your horizons.
Well, and even around the leadership thing, we stumbled into a phrase that we started to use a little bit is, what are we leading for? Are we leading for progress or are we leading for process?
Yep.
A lot of our leadership in today's world, we're leading a process. Except based on what we've seen, a lot of the processes are flawed.
Mm-hmm.
Traditional decision-making, traditional planning, whether that is timelines, whether that is hierarchical structures, organizational structures, all of that stuff needs to change.
Yeah.
So if we're leading for progress, that's a different vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're certainly walking that walk in our district in what we're doing for kids and kids through our region. And we just need folks to understand that first of all, it's not cheap, right? We have to be able to continue to do those things. But we also have to do it in a responsible fashion, and we have to really start to have broader conversations. These need to be national discussions, not local.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to have national and state level conversations about what we need to do for our kids, because right now we're failing them.
Yep. But you guys are doing a good job. You're keeping it moving there. You're not afraid to take those chances, those risks, and we need people like that in our lives to help raise this next generation of kids. Because, like you said, there's going to be so many jobs that we're losing people, and we don't have people to fill them. And we need to get the youth. I don't know how we do it, Mike. I mean, maybe you know better than me, but we need to get the youth involved more, like you said, and give them a little more trust as we move forward.
I think the big thing to remember, Brian, is this isn't about the kids.
Yeah.
The adults are the limits.
Yep.
Okay? We blame the kids. We talk about the things the kids won't do. The adults are the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I've been able to do a couple of presentations over the last few weeks. The kids are not the problem. The adults are.
Yep.
We are. Yep. We are in their way.
Yeah, we're the limit on them.
Based on our comfort level. And I think the quicker that we understand that and embrace that and not use it as a detriment, the better off we're going to be. But if not, we're going to wake up and figure out one day that we should have listened a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that's a legitimate fear.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, no. You got all great points here. I always enjoy talking with you, Mike. I learn a lot, too, when I'm here. So
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to cover before we get going today?
I think the only thing is just, obviously you mentioned that we're excited about the school year. I think we're excited about what we can do for our kids. And I think watching their faces come in and the way that our staff has already engaged with them. And I think maybe the last thing would be is just reminding folks, our staff's going to need a little grace here at times, too. Okay, we're challenging, myself included, we're challenging everything we do.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to make some mistakes once in a while. And we have to get out of this traditional decision-making and looking for gotcha.
Yeah.
I think we have to understand that everything we're doing is well-intended. I think we have to give our folks a little grace as they learn this stuff. The pace that our staff has jumped into this, though, I'm exceptionally proud of them.
Yeah.
They are jumping in. They have understood. Even folks who are uneasy and scared are doing it.
Yep.
So.
Well, good deal. Well, Mike, thank you for all the hard work you're putting in over there, and hopefully you're getting caught up on your sleep from your China trip.
Hopefully pretty quick. Not quite yet, but we'll get there.
Yep.
So thanks.
Yep, and enjoy your 3-day weekend before getting back to school. We're going to jump back into the hits right after this.
As a fellow veteran, we understand what it means to serve on a team. A suicide on a team is devastating and a real risk for veterans. If you or